Fatima looked in the dirty mirror. The cheap white silk dress was too tight on her hips. Outside, thick Seattle rain slammed against the cracked glass window of the downtown courthouse. She wiped a smudge of black mascara from under her dark brown eyes. Her hands were shaking. Just yesterday, she came home early from a long shift at the hospital. She walked into her bedroom and caught her boyfriend, Marcus, naked and sweating on top of her best friend, Chloe. Her whole life blew up in one single second. Then an hour ago, her spoiled younger sister, Vanessa, bolted from this very waiting room. Vanessa left a messy note on the chair. She was running away. Vanessa was supposed to marry a man today to settle their father's massive gambling debt. The man was supposed to be some broke, low-level thug. Everyone said he was bad news. But if the wedding did not happen, the men who held the debt would take the house. They would ruin the family. Fatima's medical school loans would default. Her career as a doctor would be over before it even started. She could not let that happen. She would take the fall. She would marry the broke thug. Fatima pushed the heavy wooden door open. The hallway smelled like wet floor mops and stale coffee. The lights buzzed loudly above her. Standing at the end of the long hall was a man. He did not look like a broke loser. He looked like a fucking nightmare. Declan leaned against the dirty plaster wall. He wore a dark black suit. The edges looked a little worn, but it fit his broad shoulders perfectly. His black hair was damp from the rain outside. It fell over his forehead, hiding sharp, cold eyes. He was Korean, very tall, with a strong jawline that looked like it was carved from stone. When he heard her footsteps, he turned his head. His dark eyes dropped down her body, slow and heavy, taking in the tight white dress. Fatima felt a hot rush of blood hit her face. She crossed her arms tightly over her chest to cover herself. "You must be Declan." He pushed off the wall. His footsteps made no sound on the ugly tile floor. He stopped just a few inches away from her. He smelled like cold rain, strong soap, and danger. "You are not Vanessa," he said. His voice was deep, rough, and sent a weird shiver down her spine. "Vanessa is gone," Fatima said. She forced her chin up. She refused to look scared. "I am Fatima. I am her older sister. I am taking her place. I want the deal to stay exactly the same. You get the marriage certificate and my father's debt is cleared. I get to finish my medical residency. Nothing else changes." Declan stared down at her. His dark eyes moved to her lips. A slow, cruel smile touched his mouth. "You think you can handle my world, Doc?" "I just handled my boyfriend, fucking my best friend and my sister, running away all in 24 hours, Fatima snapped. Her voice was sharp with anger. "I can handle you." Declan reached out fast. His large, rough hand wrapped tightly around her wrist. He pulled her forward. Her chest hit his hard chest. "We will see about that," he whispered, his breath warm against her ear. Hey guys, if you are hooked on Fatima and Declan's intense first meeting, please leave a like on this video. It really helps the algorithm push more dark, gritty romance stories to you. Before we head into the courtroom, I have a few questions for you. Would you rather marry a dangerous stranger like Declan to save your career, or lose absolutely everything and start over from scratch? Do you think Declan already knows Fatima's sister ran away and planned this all along, or is he actually surprised? Also, have you ever had to clean up a massive mess that a family member selfishly left behind? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you are enjoying the story so far, please hit that subscribe button to catch every wild twist and turn. Now, let's get back to the courthouse. Fatima tried to pull her wrist away, but his grip was like iron. He did not hurt her, but he made it clear she could not move until he let her. Finally, he dropped his hand. He turned and walked toward the judge's office at the end of the hall. He did not check to see if she was following. He just expected her to obey. Fatima took a deep breath. She smoothed down the front of the tight dress and walked after him. The judge's office was small and hot. The air felt heavy. An old man with a tired face sat behind a big wooden desk. He looked at the paperwork, then looked at Declan. The old man seemed to shrink back in his chair. He was sweating. Fatima noticed it immediately. Why was a city judge scared of a broke thug? "Are we ready?" the judge asked. His voice cracked a little bit. "Get on with it," Declan said. He stood next to Fatima. He did not hold her hand. They did not touch. The judge spoke the standard words fast. He did not ask them to say vows. He just asked if they took each other. Fatima looked at the dirty window. She thought about her father crying on the phone last night. She thought about Marcus laughing with Chloe. "I do," Fatima said. Her voice sounded empty in the small room. "I do," Declan said. He sounded bored. The judge pushed a piece of paper across the desk. Sign here on the bottom line. Fatima picked up the cheap plastic pen. Her fingers felt stiff. She signed her name, Fatima Williams. No, her name was different now. She put the pen down. Declan picked up the pen. He wrote his name with fast, sharp strokes. He tossed the pen on the desk. Are we done? Yes, the judge said quickly. You are legally married. Good luck. Declan turned and walked out of the room. Fatima followed him again. When they reached the front doors of the courthouse, the wind pushed against the glass. The rain was coming down in thick, angry sheets. The sky was dark grey. Fatima shivered. Her dress was thin and her shoes were cheap open-toe heels. Declan stopped at the door. He looked down at her bare arms covered in goosebumps. He let out a heavy sigh like she was a massive problem he had to fix. He took off his suit jacket. He threw it over her shoulders. The jacket was huge on her. It felt heavy and warm. The scent of him was everywhere now. Walk fast, he ordered. He pushed the door open. The cold wind hit her face. Fatima pulled the jacket tight around her chest and ran through the puddles. Declan walked next to her, matching his long steps to her shorter ones. They went toward the street. Fatima expected him to walk to a bus stop or an old, broken truck. Instead, he stopped next to a sleek, dark grey SUV. It looked brand new. It looked expensive. A large man with a thick neck and a deep scar across his cheek stepped out of the driver's seat. The man held an umbrella over Declan's head and opened the back door. Fatima stopped in the rain. She looked at the scary man, then at the shiny car, then at Declan. Who is this? She yelled over the sound of the rain. A friend, Declan said loudly. Get in the damn car, Fatima. You are getting soaked. She did not want to get in. Every warning bell in her head was ringing. But she had no money for a taxi and she was freezing. She climbed into the back seat. The leather was soft and smelled rich. Declan climbed in right behind her. He slammed the door shut. The thick glass completely cut off the noise of the storm outside. The car was completely silent. The driver got in and started the engine. It hummed quietly. Drive, Declan told the man. Fatima looked out the tinted window. The city looked blurry through the water. She rubbed her chest over her heart. It ached. She thought she would marry Marcus one day. She thought they would have a nice, normal life. Now she was sitting in a dark car with a man who scared the local judge. Declan shifted on the seat. Does it hurt? He asked suddenly. Fatima looked at him. Does what hurt? Whatever you are crying about, he said. His eyes were focused on her face. She reached up and touched her cheek. It was wet. She did not realize she was crying. She wiped the tear away quickly. I am not crying, it is just rain water. Declan let out a short, harsh laugh. Sure it is, you are tough, Doc, I get it. I am paying a debt, she said. She turned her body toward him. The tight silk dress pulled up on her thighs. Declan's eyes dropped down to her bare legs. He stared for a long second before looking back at her eyes. My sister owes your people money, I am fixing it. We are using each other, that is all this is. It is a business deal. That is much better than real love. Real love is pure bullshit. Declan stared at her in the dim light of the car. His face was completely blank. Yeah, love is bullshit, but you do not know anything about me, Fatima. You just signed your entire life away to a stranger. I know enough, she lied. She turned her head back to the window. They drove for 20 minutes. The car left the nice part of downtown and entered a rough, dirty industrial area near the docks. Old warehouses with broken windows lined the street. Trash cans overflowed onto the sidewalk. The driver pulled the SUV into a dark, narrow alleyway between two brick buildings. We are here, Declan said. Fatima looked out the window. There was nothing but garbage and brick. Here, where is here? My place, you are my wife now. You live where I live. Fatima felt a cold spike of real fear. No, I have an apartment near the hospital. All my things are there, my scrubs, my books. Not anymore, Declan said. His voice left no room for arguing. My men are packing your things right now. They will bring them here. You stay where I can see you. I am not a prisoner, Fatima yelled. She grabbed the door handle, but it was locked. I have double shifts at the hospital starting tomorrow. I have to save lives. I have to work. You can work, Declan said calmly. You can go to the hospital, but when your shift is done you come home to me, every single night. The driver opened her door from the outside. The cold wind rushed in. Fatima stepped out into a deep puddle of dirty water. Her cheap white shoes soaked through instantly. She cursed loudly. Shit. Declan walked past her to a heavy metal door set deep into the brick wall. He pulled out a key and unlocked it. He pushed it open. Inside, a single light bulb hung over a set of steep concrete stairs. "Walk up," he ordered. Fatima wanted to run down the alley, but where would she go? Her life was tied to this man now. She walked through the door and started climbing the stairs. Her legs felt heavy and tired. The wet dress clung to her skin. She reached the top of the stairs. There was another metal door, thicker than the first one. It looked like a bank vault door. Declan unlocked it with a different key. He pushed it open and stepped inside. Fatima followed him and stopped dead in her tracks. The room was massive. It was not a dirty apartment. It was a huge, expensive loft. The walls were clean exposed brick. The floor was shiny dark wood. Huge windows looked out over the city skyline. There was a giant black leather couch, a massive kitchen with dark metal counters, and a big bed on a raised platform in the corner. Everything looked perfectly clean, very sharp, and very empty. This was not the home of a broke street thug. This was a fortress. "This is your house?" she asked, her voice quiet. "Yes," he said. He walked inside and closed the heavy door behind them. The lock clicked loud in the silent room. "It is very big," she said. She looked around. There were no pictures, no personal items. "It fits my needs," Declan said. He walked to the kitchen island. He took a heavy gold watch off his wrist and dropped it on the metal counter. "The bathroom is over there. Go take a hot shower, you are shaking." Fatima pulled his jacket tighter around herself. She did not move toward the bathroom. She stood her ground. "I need to know the rules, Declan. We need to be very clear right now. Who are you really?" He turned around. He leaned his back against the cold counter and crossed his arms over his broad chest. "The rules are simple. You belong to me on paper. You play the part of a loyal, happy wife if we are ever out in public. You do not ask questions about my money or my work. You do not bring anyone to this house. Ever." "And you?" she asked. She took a step closer to him. She refused to let his size scare her. "What are your rules? Do you get to sleep with other women? Because if you do, I want a divorce right this second. I do not care about the debt. I will not be made a fool of twice in 1 week." Declan's dark eyes narrowed. The air in the room suddenly felt very thin. He pushed off the counter. He walked slowly toward her, moving like a large, dangerous animal. Fatima forced her feet to stay flat on the floor. She did not step back. He stopped when his chest was almost touching hers. She had to tilt her head far back to look at his face. He reached up slowly. His rough fingers brushed against her jaw. His touch sent a hot shock straight through her body. "I do not share dark," he said. His voice was a low, dark growl. "And I do not cheat. If you are mine, you are the only one, do you understand?" Fatima swallowed hard. Her mouth went completely dry. "Yes." "Good," he whispered. His thumb rubbed over her bottom lip, pressing slightly. "Now go take a shower, before I decide to take this wet, ugly dress off you myself." Fatima felt her heart slam against her ribs. She turned fast and walked straight to the bathroom. She walked inside and locked the door with a loud click. She leaned her back against the cool wood of the door and let out a long, shaky breath. What the hell did she just do? The hot water burned her cold skin. Fatima stood under the shower head and watched the dirt and rain wash down the drain. She scrubbed her face hard. The cheap white dress lay in a wet, ugly pile on the expensive tile floor. She closed her eyes, but all she saw was Marcus. He was sweating. Chloe was laughing. They were in her bed, the bed she bought with her own money. A loud sob ripped out of her throat. She covered her mouth with her wet hands. She refused to cry loud enough for the monster outside the door to hear her. She stayed in the hot water until her skin was red and her fingers were wrinkled. She turned the water off. The bathroom was dead silent. She grabbed a thick, fluffy white towel from the heated rack and wrapped it around her body. It smelled like expensive laundry soap. She wiped the steam off the big mirror and stared at herself. Her eyes were red. Her natural hair was damp at the edges. She took a deep breath. She had to go back out there, but she had no clothes. Fatima unlocked the door and opened it just an inch. The cold air from the huge loft hit her bare shoulders. Declan was sitting on a bar stool at the kitchen island. He held a short glass filled with dark brown liquor. He was looking at his phone. "I do not have anything to wear," she said. Her voice sounded small. She hated it. She cleared her throat and spoke louder. "My dress is soaked." Declan did not look up from his phone. He pointed to a closed door down the hall. "There are clothes in that room. Pick something, then come sit down. We need to talk." Fatima kept the towel tight around her chest and walked fast to the room. It was a massive walk-in closet. One side was filled with Declan's dark suits, crisp white shirts, and expensive leather shoes. The other side was completely empty except for a stack of folded clothes sitting on a shelf. She walked over. It was a pair of black sweatpants and a grey t-shirt. They were brand new. The tags were still on them. She put them on quickly. The shirt hung past her thighs. The pants dragged on the floor. She rolled the waist up 3 times. She walked back out to the kitchen. Declan pushed a second glass of dark liquor across the cold metal counter. "Drink it," he said. "It will warm you up." "I do not drink whiskey," Fatima said. She stood on the opposite side of the counter. She crossed her arms tightly. "I have a 12-hour shift at the hospital tomorrow. I need a clear head." Declan stared at her. His dark eyes moved over her face, her messy hair, and the huge clothes that swallowed her small body. "You just sold your life to a man you do not know to save a sister who left you for dead. I think you need a drink, Doc." Fatima hated that he was right. She reached out and took the glass. She took a small sip. It burned her throat like fire, but it left a warm feeling in her stomach. She put the glass down on the metal counter with a sharp clink. "Tell me exactly what is going to happen to my father." "Your father owed $300,000 to some very bad men," Declan said. He took a slow drink from his glass. "He liked to play cards at the wrong tables. He lost. He promised them his youngest daughter to clear the debt." "Vanessa," Fatima whispered, "she is barely 21. "The men did not care," Declan said. His voice was completely flat, no emotion at all. "They were going to take her, use her, and probably sell her when they got bored. But I bought the debt. I took it over." Fatima felt a cold chill run down her back. Why? Why would you buy a gambling debt?" "Because I needed a wife," Declan said simply, "and your father's problem was convenient for me." "Why do you need a wife?" Fatima asked. "You look like you have plenty of money. You could have any woman you want. Why buy one?" Declan set his glass down. The sound echoed in the quiet room. He leaned forward. His face was dangerous. "There is a board of directors. They hold the keys to a very large company. I want that company. But they think I am a wild dog. They think I'm a street thug who just got lucky with some investments. They told me I need stability. I need a family image, a respectable wife. A doctor is very respectable, Fatima. You make me look good on paper." "So this is a fake marriage to get you a promotion?" Fatima laughed. It was a harsh, bitter sound. "You scared a judge, bought my father's life, and dragged me here just for a job." "It is not a fake marriage," Declan said. His voice dropped lower. It sounded like a threat. "The paper is real. The rings will be real. If anyone asks, you are my loving wife. You sleep in my house. You eat at my table. You do not look at another man. You do not talk to your ex-boyfriend. If you play your part, I pay for your medical school. I keep your father alive. You get your dream. I get mine." Fatima looked at his hard face. He was not lying. He was a ruthless man who used people like tools. But right now he was a tool she could use, too. Marcus ruined her heart. Vanessa ruined her trust. Maybe she did not need love. Maybe she just needed safety and a clear path to her medical degree. "Fine," Fatima said. She looked him right in the eyes. "But I have rules, too. You do not interfere with my work. My patients come first. And you do not touch me. We sleep in different rooms." Declan slowly stood up. He was so tall he cast a shadow over her. He walked around the kitchen island. Fatima's heart started to beat very fast, but she did not step back. He stopped right in front of her. He reached out and grabbed a loose piece of her hair. He tucked it behind her ear. His rough fingers brushed her warm cheek. "You sleep in my bed," he said softly. "The maids come early in the morning. They talk. If we sleep in different rooms, the board of directors will find out. You sleep in my bed, dark." "I will not sleep with you," she said. Her voice shook a little bit. "I did not ask you to," he said. He dropped his hand. "The bed is big enough. Go to sleep, Fatima. You have to save lives tomorrow." He turned around and walked to the big leather couch in the center of the room. He sat down and picked up his phone again. He ignored her completely. Fatima stood there for a second. She felt stupid. She walked to the big bed on the raised platform. It was covered in dark grey sheets. She climbed in and pulled the heavy blanket up to her chin. The bed smelled like his strong soap and rain. She closed her eyes. She thought she would stay awake all night, but the warmth and the whiskey pulled her down. She fell into a deep, dark sleep. The sun was not even up when Fatima opened her eyes. The loft was filled with dark grey shadows. She sat up fast. She remembered where she was. She looked around. The leather couch was empty. Declan was gone. She felt a sudden panic, but then she heard a noise in the kitchen. Declan was standing by the coffee machine. He wore dark blue running pants and no shirt. His back was facing her. Fatima stopped breathing for a second. His back was covered in thick, ugly scars. Some looked old and white. Some looked newer and pink. They were knife cuts, bullet grazes. He was a CEO now, but he was definitely a street thug once. He turned around. He held 2 black mugs of coffee. He saw her staring at his chest, but he did not try to hide the scars. He walked over and handed her a mug. "Drink this, your clothes are in those boxes by the door. My men brought them from your apartment last night. Get dressed, the driver is waiting downstairs." Fatima took the hot mug. "I can take the bus, I always take the bus to the hospital." "My wife does not take the city bus," Declan said. He walked away to the closet. "The driver will take you, he will wait for you, he will bring you home." "I am not a child," Fatima yelled at his back. "You are a target," Declan shot back. He stopped and looked over his shoulder. His eyes were cold. "You are married to me now. People will want to hurt me. They will try to use you to do it. You stay with the driver or you do not go at all." Fatima gripped the warm coffee mug. She wanted to throw it at his head, but she knew he was serious. She got out of bed and walked to the boxes. She dug out a clean pair of dark blue hospital scrubs and her favorite comfortable sneakers. She dressed quickly in the bathroom and grabbed her stethoscope. When she walked out, Declan was fully dressed in a sharp grey suit. He looked like a billionaire. He did not look like the scarred man from 5 minutes ago. "Have a good day at work, Doc," he said. He did not look up from his heavy gold watch. Fatima did not say goodbye. She walked out the heavy metal door and locked it behind her. The ride to the hospital was quiet. The big man with the scarred face was driving again. He drove the expensive SUV through the morning traffic like he owned the road. He pulled up right to the front doors of Seattle Grace Medical Center. "I will be parked in the garage," the driver said. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "Call this number when you are done." He handed her a plain white business card with just a phone number on it. Fatima took it and shoved it in her pocket. "Thanks." She walked through the sliding glass doors. The hospital smelled like strong bleach and cheap coffee. It was a smell she loved. It meant she was safe. She was in her world now. She walked fast to the resident break room to drop off her bag. She pushed the break room door open. The room was small and bright. 3 other young doctors were sitting at the table, eating sad vending machine donuts. They all looked up when she walked in. It got very quiet. Dr. Evans, a tall blonde woman who always tried to steal Fatima's patients, smiled a mean smile. "Wow, Fatima, you look exhausted. Rough night." "I am fine, Evans," Fatima said. She opened her metal locker and shoved her bag inside. "We were just talking about you," Evans said. She leaned back in her plastic chair. "Marcus was here looking for you 20 minutes ago. He looked like a complete mess. He said you blocked his number." Fatima felt her stomach drop. She slammed her locker shut. The loud bang made the other doctors jump. "Marcus is none of your business. If he comes back, tell him to leave. I am working." She turned around and walked out of the break room before Evans could say another word. She walked down the busy hallway, dodging nurses and medicine carts. She needed to focus. She needed to look at patient charts. "Fatima, wait, please." Fatima froze. She knew that voice. She turned around slowly. Marcus was standing near the nurse's station. He looked terrible. His clothes were wrinkled. His eyes had dark circles under them. He looked like he had been crying all night. He ran over to her and tried to grab her hands. Fatima stepped back fast. She crossed her arms over her chest. "Do not touch me." "Baby, please," Marcus begged. His voice was loud. People in the hallway were starting to stare. "Please let me explain. It was a mistake. I was drunk. Chloe started it. It meant nothing to me. You are the woman I love." Fatima stared at him. She felt nothing. Yesterday this man was her whole world. Today he just looked pathetic. "You fucked my best friend in my bed, Marcus. There is nothing to explain. We are done." "No, we are not," Marcus yelled. He stepped closer. He looked angry now. "You cannot just throw away 3 years because of one stupid mistake. I know you, Fatima. You love me. You are just acting tough right now." He reached out and grabbed her arm hard. His fingers dug into her skin. "Let go of me," Fatima said. Her voice was low and deadly. "Not until you agree to come home and talk to me." Marcus pulled her toward him. Suddenly a huge shadow fell over them. A massive hand, as big as a dinner plate, wrapped around the back of Marcus's neck. "The lady said let go," a rough voice growled. Fatima looked up. It was the driver. the big man with the scarred face from the SUV. He was standing right behind Marcus. Marcus let go of Fatima's arm instantly. He tried to turn around, but the driver squeezed his neck harder. Marcus gasped for air. "Who the hell are you?" Marcus choked out. "I am nobody," the driver said. He looked over Marcus's shoulder at Fatima. "Are you okay, ma'am?" "I am fine," Fatima said. She rubbed her arm. "Who is this guy, Fatima?" Marcus yelled. He was scared now, but his ego was hurt. "Are you seeing someone else? Is that why you are acting like a cold bitch?" The driver slammed Marcus face first into the wall. The sound cracked through the hallway. Nurses gasped. The driver leaned in close to Marcus's ear. "You will not speak to Mrs. Kang like that ever again," the driver whispered loudly. "If I see your face near her again, I will break both of your legs. Walk away." The driver let go. Marcus stumbled backward. He held his bleeding nose. He looked at the massive driver, then he looked at Fatima. His eyes were wide with pure shock. "Mrs. Kang," Marcus whispered, "you got married." Fatima stood tall. She fixed her scrub top. "Goodbye, Marcus." Marcus turned and ran down the hallway. He did not look back. He bumped into a trash can and kept running until he was out the front doors. Fatima let out a long breath. She looked at the giant driver. "I thought you were in the parking garage." "Mr. Kang told me to watch your back," the driver said simply. "He said you might have a pest problem today." Fatima shook her head. Declan knew exactly what he was doing. He was building a cage around her piece by piece. And the scariest part was she kind of liked the protection. She turned around and walked toward her first patient's room. The game was just starting. Fatima walked into room 402. The room was freezing cold. A sick old man coughed weakly in the bed. Fatima picked up his plastic chart from the end of the bed. She read the numbers twice. Something was very wrong. The medicine dose was way too high. She turned around fast. Dr. Evans was standing in the doorway, smiling a nasty smile. "Did you write this chart, Evans?" Fatima asked. Her voice was tight with anger. Evans crossed her arms over her chest. "I updated it an hour ago. Why? Are you too tired to read it, Fatima? Or maybe you are too distracted by your messy love life?" "You prescribed 50 milligrams of blood thinner," Fatima said. She walked over to Evans and shoved the plastic clipboard hard into the taller woman's chest. "His kidneys are failing. 50 milligrams will make him bleed out in 10 minutes. You almost killed him." Evans looked down at the chart. Her pale face turned bright red. She looked nervous now. I must have written a 5 instead of a 1. It was just a small mistake." "It was stupid," Fatima said. "You were too busy gossiping about my ex-boyfriend in the break room to do your actual job. If you ever touch my patient charts again, I will report you directly to the chief of medicine. Do you understand me?" Evans snatched the clipboard back. "You think you are so perfect," she hissed. "You are just a stuck-up bitch." Evans turned around and walked away fast. Fatima let out a long, heavy breath. Her hands were shaking again. She fixed the chart with her own pen, checked the old man's pulse, and walked back out into the busy hallway. She worked for 6 straight hours without stopping. She checked beating hearts, fixed broken fingers, and filled out endless stacks of paperwork. Her cheap shoes rubbed her heels completely raw. Her stomach growled loud enough for the nurses to hear. At noon, she finally walked toward the small hospital cafeteria. She just wanted a cold turkey sandwich and a quiet corner to hide in. But when she pushed the heavy cafeteria doors open, she stopped dead in her tracks. The big driver with the scarred face was sitting at a small table in the exact center of the room. He looked completely out of place. He wore his dark black suit. He was surrounded by tired doctors and nurses in blue and green scrubs. Everyone was staring at him. He did not care at all. When he saw Fatima, he stood up quickly. He pointed his thick finger to the empty chair across from him. There was a large brown paper bag sitting on the table. It smelled amazing. It smelled like fresh roasted chicken and hot rice. Fatima felt her face get hot. People were whispering. She walked over quickly and sat down in the plastic chair. "What the hell are you doing here?" she whispered fiercely. "I told you I was working." "Mr. Kang said you forget to eat when you work," the driver said. His voice was a low, rough rumble. "He told me to bring you lunch. He told me to watch you eat it so you do not skip it." "I can buy my own lunch," Fatima said. She crossed her arms tightly. "Eat," the driver said. He sat back down and folded his massive hands on the table. "My name is Choi, by the way. You should know my name since I will be driving you every single day." Fatima looked at Choi. She looked at the brown bag. Her stomach growled again, louder this time. She gave up. She pulled the warm plastic containers out of the bag. The food was incredible. It was not terrible hospital food. It came from a very expensive, fancy restaurant. She ate the spicy chicken and rice fast. Choi just watched her. He did not eat a bite. He did not look at his phone. He just watched the busy room, keeping a dark eye on every single person who walked past their table. Declan is crazy, Fatima said with her mouth full of rice. He cannot have his men stalking me at my job. Mr. Kang protects what belongs to him, Choi said flatly. You are his wife, you belong to him. I belong to myself, Fatima snapped. She put her plastic fork down hard. This is a business deal, we are using each other, tell him to back off. You can tell him yourself tonight, Choi said. He did not blink. The rest of her shift was a fast blur of sick people and bright white lights. By 8 o'clock at night, Fatima felt like her bones were made of heavy lead. She changed out of her scrubs and put on the giant grey t-shirt and black sweatpants from the morning. She packed her bag and walked out the front doors of the hospital. The rain finally stopped, but the night air was freezing cold. She looked around for the dark grey SUV. It was parked right at the curb, but someone else was standing next to it. A tall man with light brown skin and a very neat haircut wore a tan wool coat. He held a paper cup of coffee. When he saw Fatima walk out, he smiled. His smile was warm and very familiar. It was a smile she had known since she was 10 years old. Leo, Fatima asked. She stopped walking completely. Leo stepped forward. He reached out and pulled her into a tight, warm hug. He smelled like expensive cologne and clean laundry. Fatima, God, I have been looking everywhere for you. I went to your apartment, but it was totally empty. The landlord said some big guys moved all your stuff out last night. I came straight here. Fatima pulled back. She looked at his handsome, clean face. Leo was her childhood best friend. They grew up on the same dirty, poor street. But Leo got out early. He started a smart tech company in California. He was a rich man now. He was safe and legal. They dated for a little while in high school, but he moved away and the long distance broke them apart. Now he was standing in front of her hospital. What are you doing in Seattle? She asked. Her voice was full of shock. Leo looked around the dark street. He looked at the giant SUV, but he did not see Choi waiting inside the dark windows. Your sister called me, Leo said softly. Fatima's blood ran ice cold. Vanessa called you. Where the hell is she? She is safe in a hotel, Leo said. He grabbed both of her hands. His hands were very warm. She called me crying yesterday. She told me about your dad's massive gambling debt. She told me she ran away and that you were going to take her place. She said you were going to marry some dangerous, awful guy to save the family. She is a selfish coward, Fatima said. Her voice was hard and angry. She made a huge mess and ran away, and now she dragged you into it. She did the exact right thing by calling me, Leo said. He squeezed her hands tightly. Fatima, you do not have to do this. I have the money. I can write a check right now. $300,000 is nothing to me anymore. Let me pay off the dirty debt. You can walk away from this guy right now. You can come with me. Fatima stared at him. A massive wave of total exhaustion washed over her body. It would be so easy. She could get in Leo's rental car. She could let him pay the men. She could be totally free. But the thought made her stomach twist into a hard, painful knot. If she took Leo's money, she would owe him her life. She would be the poor, weak girl saved by the rich, strong boy. She would trade one heavy debt for another. She fought too hard to become a real doctor. She worked too many nights. She wanted to stand on her own 2 feet. With Declan, it was a cold, hard deal. She gave him a wife for his board of directors. He gave her safety and paid her dad's debt. It was a clear, even trade. She did not owe Declan her soul. I cannot do that, Leo, Fatima said. She pulled her hands away from his grip. Why not? Leo asked. He looked totally confused. Is it your pride? Fatima, please do not be stupid. This man you are dealing with is a dangerous thug. You are playing a stupid, deadly game. Before Fatima could answer him, the heavy door of the SUV swung open violently. The metal scraped loudly against the concrete curb. Choi stepped out. In the dark night, the thick scar on his face looked terrible. He stood right behind Fatima like a giant brick wall. Leo took a fast step back. His eyes went wide with fear. Who is this guy? I am her ride home, Choi said. His voice was a deep threat. Are you bothering Mrs. Kang? Mrs. Kang, Leo looked at Fatima. His face dropped in pure horror. Fatima, no, tell me you did not actually marry him. Tell me you are not really his wife. I did, Fatima said. She lifted her chin up high. It is already done, Leo. The paper is signed, the debt is clear, my father is safe. I can hire the best lawyers, Leo pushed. He stepped closer again, ignoring Choi. We can get a fast annulment. We can tell the judge you were forced into it. Please, Fatima, I always loved you. I should never have left you in this ugly city. Come with me right now. Leo reached out for her arm. Choi moved blindingly fast. He stepped right between them and shoved Leo hard in the chest. Leo stumbled backward and hit his back against the wet brick wall of the hospital. His paper coffee cup fell and splashed hot brown liquid all over the sidewalk. Do not touch her, Choi growled loudly. If you reach for her again, I will break your fingers. Choi, stop, Fatima yelled. She grabbed the big man's thick arm. He did not move, but he did not hit Leo again. Fatima looked at Leo. He looked scared, but he also looked very angry. Go back to California, Leo. I made my choice. I am dealing with my family's problems my own way. Do not come back here. She turned around and climbed quickly into the back of the SUV. The leather seat was cold. Choi got in the driver's seat and locked the heavy doors. He started the engine and pulled away from the curb fast. Fatima looked out the back window. Leo was standing under a street light watching them drive away. He looked completely crushed. The car ride was totally silent. Fatima rubbed her temples. Her head was pounding with a huge headache. She just wanted to sleep for a week. She did not want to deal with Marcus or Evans or Leo or Choi, but most of all she did not want to deal with Declan. 30 minutes later, Choi pulled into the dark, dirty alleyway. He unlocked the first metal door for her. Fatima walked up the steep concrete stairs completely alone. She used her new brass key to unlock the heavy vault door. The huge loft was mostly dark. Only one small lamp was on in the kitchen. Declan was sitting on the big black leather couch. He wore dark jeans and a plain black t-shirt. It was stretched tight over his broad chest. His bare arms were covered in dark, twisted tattoos. He had a short glass of brown whiskey in his hand. He looked up the second she closed the door. You are late, he said. His deep voice echoed in the large, empty room. I had to save a patient from a stupid doctor, Fatima said. She dropped her bag on the shiny wood floor. And then I had to deal with your giant babysitter. Declan took a slow drink. Choi is not a babysitter, he is a guard. Fatima walked right over to the couch. She stood right in front of him. I do not need a guard inside my hospital. I do not need you sending me lunch like I am a child. I was doing fine before you bought my life. You are suffocating me. Declan stood up slowly. He put his glass down on the glass table. He was so much taller than her. He stepped close, forcing her to look straight up at his sharp, cold face. He smelled like strong alcohol and mint. Choi told me you had a visitor outside the hospital, Declan said. His voice was low and quiet. It was the kind of quiet that meant he was furious. He said a man in a nice coat begged you to run away with him. He said the man offered to pay your debt. Fatima felt a fast spike of anger. Choi is a snitch. Choi works for me, Declan said. He reached out and grabbed her shoulders. His large hands were warm and very heavy. Who was the man, Fatima? His name is Leo. He is an old friend from my neighborhood. An old friend who wants to buy my wife. Declan's dark eyes were completely cold. Did you think about it? Did you think about getting in his shiny car and leaving me to clean up your father's mess? Fatima pushed his chest hard with both hands. He did not move a single inch. If I wanted to leave, I would have left. I told him no. I told him I made a deal with you and I am sticking to it. You do not own my past, Declan. You only own the paper we signed. I own everything, Declan growled. He pulled her flush against his hard body. Her breath caught tight in her throat. She could feel the intense heat radiating off his skin. His dark eyes searched her face. You made a choice today, Doc. You chose to stay in my world. You chose me over him. I chose my independence, she lied. Her heart was beating so fast it hurt her ribs. He wanted to save me. I do not need saving. Everyone needs saving, Declan whispered. He lowered his head down. His face was inches from hers. She could feel his warm breath on her lips. For a second she thought he was going to kiss her. A strange, heavy heat pooled low in her stomach. She did not want to push him away. But Declan stopped. He looked down at her mouth, then pulled back completely. He let go of her shoulders. The cold air rushed right between them. Your dinner is in the fridge, he said. His voice was completely flat again. He turned his wide back to her and walked toward the dark hallway. Eat it, and do not let that man come near you again. If he does, I will deal with him myself. And I do not shove people, Fatima. I put them in the ground." He walked into his office and shut the door behind him with a loud click. Fatima stood alone in the middle of the giant living room. Her body was still humming from where he touched her. She hated him. She hated his absolute control and his cold rules. But as she walked to the shiny kitchen to find her food, she realized something truly terrifying. She felt safer with the monster in this fortress than she ever felt in her entire life. The morning light in Seattle was always grey and cold. Fatima opened her tired eyes and stared at the high brick ceiling of the loft. The heavy blanket was tangled around her bare legs. She rolled over and looked at the other side of the massive bed. The dark grey sheets were completely flat. There was no dent in the pillow. Declan did not sleep in the bed last night. She wondered if he slept at all. Fatima sat up and rubbed her face. Her muscles ached from the long hospital shift. She walked out of the bedroom area and into the massive living room. Declan was sitting at the kitchen island. He had a thick paper file open in front of him. He wore a dark blue suit today with a crisp white shirt. He looked sharp, rich, and completely dangerous. He did not look up from his papers when she walked into the room. Fatima walked to the coffee machine and poured a hot cup. She stood with her back against the counter and watched him. He was a very beautiful man, but his face was always so hard. "You stare too much," Declan said quietly. He flipped a page in his file. Fatima felt her cheeks get hot. "I was just wondering if you ever sleep." "Sleep is a waste of time," he said. He closed the file and pushed it away. He looked at her. His dark eyes slowly moved down her body. She was wearing his giant grey t-shirt again. It barely covered her thighs. His jaw tightened for a second. Then he reached into his suit pocket and pulled out a small, black velvet box. He tossed it onto the metal counter. It slid across the smooth surface and stopped right next to her coffee mug. "Open it," he ordered. Fatima put her mug down. She picked up the little box. It felt heavy. She opened the lid. Inside, resting on white silk, was the biggest diamond ring she had ever seen in her entire life. It was a square cut, completely clear, surrounded by smaller, glittering stones. It caught the dull morning light and shined like pure fire. "Holy shit," Fatima whispered. She almost dropped the box. "Is this fake?" Declan let out a short, harsh laugh. "I do not buy fake things, Doc, put it on." Fatima shook her head quickly. "No, I cannot wear this to the hospital. I wear cheap plastic gloves all day. I deal with blood and sick people. Someone will steal this right off my finger." "If someone touches your hand, Choi will break their arm," Declan said flatly. "You are my wife now, you will wear my ring. Everyone needs to see it, especially today." "Why today?" she asked. Declan stood up from his stool. He walked around the counter and stopped right in front of her. He reached out and took the black box from her shaking hands. He pulled the massive ring out of the silk. He grabbed her left hand. His rough, warm fingers held her small hand tightly. He slid the heavy diamond onto her ring finger. It fit perfectly. "Because tonight," Declan said, his voice dropping low, "we are going to dinner. The board of directors wants to meet the woman who tamed the wild dog. They want to see if our marriage is real. If they think we are faking this, they will vote against me. They will block my promotion. And if I lose my company, I lose my temper. You do not want to see me lose my temper." Fatima looked down at the ring. It felt like a very expensive, very heavy handcuff. "What do I have to do?" "You sit next to me, you smile, you act like you love me," Declan said. He did not let go of her hand. His thumb slowly rubbed over her knuckles. It sent a strange, hot shiver up her arm. "And you do not talk about your messy family or your broke ex-boyfriend." Fatima yanked her hand away. The spell was broken. "My family is not your business to judge. I will play your little game tonight because we have a deal, but do not talk down to me." Declan's eyes went completely dark. He leaned in close. "I own your family's debt, Fatima. That makes them my business. Be ready by 6 o'clock. Choi will bring you a dress. Wear it." He turned and walked out the heavy metal door. The lock clicked loudly behind him. Fatima stood alone in the kitchen. She looked at the giant diamond on her hand. Her life was turning into a crazy, dangerous movie, and she could not find the pause button. 2 hours later, Fatima was back in the bright, noisy hospital. She kept her left hand deep in her scrub pocket. She did not want Dr. Evans or anyone else asking questions about the massive rock on her finger. The morning went fast. She stitched up a deep cut on a little boy's arm and checked on her old patients. At noon, she walked to the front lobby to grab a quick coffee from the small cart near the glass doors. She paid for her black coffee and turned around. Someone grabbed her right arm hard. Fatima gasped and spilled hot coffee on her shoes. "Damn it!" She looked up ready to yell. Standing in front of her was Vanessa. Her younger sister looked like a complete disaster. Vanessa's long hair was tangled and messy. Her expensive makeup was smeared under her eyes. She wore a tight pink dress that looked wrinkled and dirty. She smelled like stale cigarette smoke and cheap perfume. "Vanessa," Fatima asked. Her voice was full of shock. "What the hell are you doing here?" "You stupid bitch," Vanessa hissed loudly. She grabbed Fatima's arm again, her fake nails digging into Fatima's skin. "What did you do? Leo called me last night. He said you actually married the debt collector. Are you out of your damn mind?" Fatima yanked her arm away violently. She looked around the lobby. A few nurses were staring at them. Fatima grabbed Vanessa's shoulder and pushed her hard toward a quiet corner near the vending machines. "Keep your voice down," Fatima ordered. Her blood was boiling hot. "You have a lot of nerve showing your face here. You ran away. You left a sticky note on a chair and left me to face those violent men all by myself. Our dad was going to be killed because of your selfish choices." "I was scared," Vanessa yelled back. Tears welled up in her eyes, but Fatima knew those tears were fake. Vanessa always cried when she wanted to play the victim. "I am too young to marry a street thug, but Leo has money. I called him so he could save us. He was going to write a check, but you ruined it. You married the scary guy and now Leo refuses to give me a single dime." Fatima stared at her sister in pure disgust. The truth finally hit her. "You did not call Leo to save our dad. You called Leo because you wanted his money for yourself. You thought you could use my old boyfriend to get a free ride." "So what if I did?" Vanessa sneered, her pretty face twisted into an ugly, mean expression. "Leo is rich now, he owes us. He grew up on our street. But because you are playing house with a gangster, Leo told me to screw off. He is flying back to California today. You need to fix this, Fatima. You need to cancel your stupid contract with that thug right now." Fatima felt a cold, hard knot form in her stomach. She spent her whole life protecting Vanessa. She worked double shifts to buy Vanessa nice clothes so she would fit in at school. She took the blame when Vanessa broke things. And now, Vanessa was asking her to risk her own life just for some quick cash. "I cannot cancel the marriage," Fatima said quietly. Her voice was completely numb. "The deal is done, the debt is paid, Dad is safe, you are free to go live your life, but leave me out of it." "I am not free," Vanessa screamed. She stomped her foot like a spoiled child. "The thugs' men are still outside my hotel. They followed me here. They are watching my every move. Tell your psycho husband to call off his dogs." Fatima frowned. "Declan's men are watching you." "Yes, a huge guy with a bald head has been sitting in a black car outside my building all night," Vanessa cried. "I want my freedom, Fatima. I want Leo's money and I want these freaks to leave me alone. Call the wedding off. Tell the judge you were forced. Or I will go to the police and tell them your new husband is holding our family hostage." "You will not do that," a deep, rough voice said from right behind them. Vanessa jumped and let out a loud squeak of terror. Fatima turned her head. Choi stepped out from behind the vending machines. He wore his usual dark black suit. His scarred face looked incredibly angry. He stepped right in front of Vanessa. He was easily a foot taller than her and 3 times as wide. Vanessa started shaking. She took a step back, hitting her back against the glass of the snack machine. "Get away from me." "You talk too loud," Choi rumbled. He did not yell, but his quiet voice was terrifying. "And you show zero respect to Mrs. Kang. If you threaten Mr. Kang or his wife again, I will not sit in a car outside your hotel. I will come inside. Do we have a clear understanding?" Vanessa looked at Choi's thick neck and cold eyes. She swallowed hard. Her fake bravery completely vanished. She looked at Fatima with pure hatred. "You are crazy. You are actually crazy for choosing this over Leo." "Leave, Vanessa," Fatima said. She felt completely exhausted. "Do not come to my hospital ever again." Vanessa wiped her nose. She glared at Choi one last time, then turned and ran toward the front doors of the hospital. She pushed through the glass and disappeared into the grey rain outside. Fatima leaned her back against the wall and closed her eyes. Her head pounded. Why is Declan having her followed, Choi? The debt is paid. He got his wife. Why is he stalking my sister? Choi stood perfectly still. He looked down at her. "Mr. Kang does not leave loose ends. Your sister is reckless. Reckless people cause problems. He is making sure she does not cause a problem for you. I do not need him to fix my family, Fatima whispered. You do, Choi said simply. You just do not want to admit it yet. Now go finish your shift. I will be in the garage at 5:30. Mr. Kang does not like to be late for dinner. Choi turned and walked away, his heavy boots making loud thuds on the shiny hospital floor. Fatima rubbed her temples. She reached into her pocket and pulled her left hand out. She stared at the massive diamond ring. It felt heavier now. Declan was not just controlling her present, he was wrapping his dark hands all around her past too. He was building a wall around her, keeping Leo out, keeping Vanessa out. He was isolating her. But the terrifying truth was, she felt a sick sense of relief. She did not have to carry the weight of her sister's messes anymore. The monster was carrying it for her. At exactly 5:30, Fatima walked out to the dark hospital garage. The heavy grey SUV was waiting. She climbed into the back seat. Sitting on the soft leather was a large, flat black box with a thick silk ribbon tied around it. Open it, Choi said from the front seat as he put the car in drive. Fatima untied the ribbon and opened the box. Inside was a dress. It was a deep, dark emerald green. The fabric was incredibly soft, like water. It was silk. She touched it carefully. There was also a pair of black high heels with thin straps. They looked very expensive and very painful. Mr. Kang chose it himself, Choi said. He looked at her in the rearview mirror. He said green will look good against your dark skin. Fatima felt a strange flutter in her stomach. Declan picked out a dress for her. He actually thought about what color would look good on her. She quickly pushed the thought away. It was just a costume for his big business show tonight. It meant absolutely nothing. They drove back to the fortress loft in the alleyway. Fatima walked up the stairs alone. The loft was empty. Declan was not home yet. She went straight to the huge bathroom and took a fast, hot shower. She dried her hair and left her natural curls loose and full. She put on a little bit of red lipstick, the only makeup she owned that looked decent. Then she put on the green dress. Fatima stood in front of the massive mirror in the closet. She stopped breathing for a second. The dress fit her perfectly. It was tight around her waist and hips, showing off her curves, but the neckline was elegant and high. It had long sleeves, but the back was completely open, dipping down low to her lower back. She slipped on the black heels. They made her much taller. She looked strong. She looked beautiful. She looked like the wife of a very powerful man. She walked out to the living room, just as the heavy metal vault door unlocked. Declan walked in. He was wearing a brand new pitch-black suit, no tie. The top two buttons of his black shirt were undone, showing a hint of his thick neck and the edge of a dark tattoo. He stopped walking the second he saw her. The silence in the huge room was heavy and thick. Declan stared at her. His cold, sharp eyes moved slowly from the top of her curls, down the tight green silk over her chest and hips, all the way down to her strapped heels. He did not say a word, but the look in his eyes was so intense it felt like a physical touch. The air felt suddenly very hot. He walked toward her. His footsteps were slow and deliberate. He stopped right in front of her. He reached out and gently touched her bare arm. His fingers slid down to her hand and he laced his fingers through hers. He lifted her left hand. The giant diamond sparkled under the kitchen lights. You look, Declan started to speak, but his rough voice caught in his throat. He cleared it and looked directly into her brown eyes. You look exactly like you belong to me. I belong to myself, Fatima said automatically, but her voice was a breathless whisper. She did not pull her hand away. Tonight you belong to me, Declan said. He pulled her slightly closer. The board members are vicious, Fatima. They will try to find a crack in our story. They will ask you mean questions. They will try to make you feel small. Do not let them. You are smarter than all of them. You show them your teeth. I can handle a bunch of old businessmen, Fatima said. She lifted her chin. Declan smiled. It was a dark, dangerous smile that made her heart race. Good, let's go feed you to the wolves. The rain started falling again as Choi drove the dark SUV through the wet streets of Seattle. Fatima sat in the back seat next to Declan. She stared straight ahead at the back of Choi's seat. Declan did not let go of her hand for the entire ride. His large, rough thumb slowly rubbed circles over her knuckles. Every time his thumb moved, a hot spark shot straight up her arm. She tried to ignore it. She tried to focus on the terrifying dinner ahead of them, but his touch made it impossible to think straight. Choi pulled the car up to the front of a massive brick building. There were no bright signs, just a heavy black door with gold handles. It was called the Vault. It was the most expensive steakhouse in the city. Rich people went there to make dirty deals behind closed doors. Choi opened Fatima's door. The cold night wind hit her bare back. She shivered. Declan stepped out right behind her. He did not give her his jacket this time. Instead, he placed his large, warm hand flat against her bare lower back. His palm completely covered her skin. It felt like a brand. "Keep your head up," Declan whispered near her ear. "Do not look away from them. If they stare, you stare right back." Fatima nodded. She let him guide her through the heavy black doors. The inside of the restaurant smelled like roasted meat, expensive wood, and rich cigars. The lighting was very dim and completely red. They walked past the main dining room. Every single person stopped eating to look at them. Fatima felt the weight of their eyes. She knew what they saw. They saw a giant, dangerous man in a black suit holding a young, beautiful woman in a tight green dress. A man in a sharp tuxedo met them at the back hallway. "Mr. Kang, they are waiting for you in room 4. Declan did not say thank you. He just pushed past the man and walked down the dark hall. He stopped in front of a thick oak door. He looked down at Fatima one last time. "Show your teeth, Dark." Declan turned the brass knob and pushed the door open. The private room was freezing cold. A large round table sat in the center under a bright crystal light. 4 people sat at the table. 3 old white men in grey suits and 1 older white woman with tight blonde hair and a face pulled tight by expensive surgeries. They all stopped talking when Declan walked in. Their eyes immediately locked onto Fatima. They looked at her like she was a dirty piece of trash on their clean floor. "Declan," the oldest man said. He had a bald head and cold, pale blue eyes. "You are exactly on time, and you brought a guest." "I brought my wife," Declan said loudly. His voice bounced off the brick walls. He pulled out a heavy wooden chair for Fatima. She sat down smoothly. She kept her back perfectly straight. She crossed her ankles under the table. Declan sat in the chair right next to her. He did not pull his chair in. He sat with his legs spread wide, taking up as much space as possible. He looked completely relaxed, but Fatima could feel the hard tension rolling off his body. He was ready for a fight. "Right, the wife," the blonde woman said. She picked up her wine glass and took a slow sip. Her red lipstick stained the glass. "I am Barbara, this is Richard, Thomas, and Arthur, we are the board." "I am Fatima," she said. Her voice was steady. She made sure it did not shake at all. "We know exactly who you are, dear," Richard, the bald man, said. He smiled, but it was a mean, fake smile. "We ran a very deep background check on you this morning. You are a medical resident. You work long hours. You live in a very poor neighborhood. And your father owes a massive amount of money to some very bad people." Fatima felt her heart drop into her stomach, but she did not let her face change. She stared right into Richard's pale eyes. "My father's debts are cleared." "Yes, they are," Arthur said. He was a fat man with a red face. He cut a piece of his steak loudly, the knife scraping the white plate. "Because Declan paid them. $300,000 is a lot of money to drop on a sudden wedding gift. It makes us wonder if this marriage is real, or if our wild dog just bought himself a pretty little chew toy to make us happy." Declan shifted in his seat. The heavy wooden chair creaked loudly. "Watch your fucking mouth, Arthur." The fat man chewed his meat slowly. He did not look scared. "We have millions of dollars on the line, Declan. We are giving you the keys to a global empire. We told you to settle down. We told you to find a respectable woman and fix your street thug image. 2 days later, you show up married to a broke girl who needed a bailout. It looks like a cheap business deal." "It is a real marriage," Declan growled. His hand dropped under the table and rested heavily on Fatima's bare thigh. His fingers squeezed her skin. It was a warning for her to stay quiet, but Fatima was completely done being quiet. "It is funny you care so much about respect," Fatima said. Her voice cut through the cold room like a sharp knife. The 4 board members stopped eating. They all looked at her in pure shock. They did not expect her to speak back. "Excuse me," Barbara asked. She put her wine glass down hard. Fatima leaned forward just a little bit. She rested her arms on the white tablecloth. The massive diamond on her finger caught the light and flashed brightly. "I said it is funny. You sit in this expensive room, drinking wine, and you call my husband a wild dog. You call me a cheap toy. But from where I sit, you 4 look like the real monsters." "Listen here, little girl," Richard started to say, his face turning red. "No, you listen," Fatima interrupted him smoothly. She did not raise her voice. She kept it deadly calm. "I am a doctor. I spend 12 hours a day fixing people who are broken by the dirty world you people run from the shadows. You think you are better than Declan because you wear grey suits instead of black ones. You think your money makes you clean. She looked directly at Arthur, the fat man who insulted her. You are eating a $50 steak, Arthur, but your skin is yellowing and the whites of your eyes are dull. Your liver is failing. You drink too much and you eat too much fat. All your money will not stop your body from shutting down in the next 2 years. When you end up in my hospital on a breathing machine, you will not care how I met my husband. You will just beg me to save your miserable life. The room went completely dead silent. You could hear a pin drop on the carpet. Arthur's mouth hung open. His face lost all its red color and went completely pale. He dropped his expensive silver fork. It hit his plate with a loud clatter. Fatima turned her head and looked at Barbara. And you think my father's debt makes me weak. My father made a mistake. Declan stepped in and protected my family. He took care of his own. That is what a real man does. You four only care about yourselves. If this company falls, you will throw each other to the wolves without blinking. Fatima leaned back in her chair. She looked at all of them. Our marriage is none of your damn business. We are legally bound. We live together. He wears his ring and I wear mine. If you want to block his promotion because you are scared of him, then be honest about it. But do not try to use me as your excuse. I will not play the victim for you. Richard cleared his throat. He looked at Declan, then back to Fatima. He looked a little bit scared now. We were just asking standard questions, Mrs. Kang. Now you have your answers, Declan said. His voice was thick with dark pride. He stood up from his chair. He did not touch his food. He looked down at the board members like they were bugs. If you ever disrespect my wife again, I will not wait for a board vote. I will break this company apart with my bare hands and leave you all with absolutely nothing. Send the final paperwork to my office tomorrow morning. Declan reached out his hand. Fatima placed her hand in his. He pulled her up from her chair gently. He kept her hand tight in his as he turned around and walked out of the freezing room. They walked fast down the dark hallway and out the front doors. The rain was pouring down heavy now. Choi was waiting right at the curb. He had the back door open. Declan practically shoved her inside to get her out of the rain. He climbed in right behind her and slammed the heavy door shut. The SUV peeled away from the curb fast. Fatima sat back against the soft leather. Her entire body was shaking. Her heart was beating so fast she thought it would break her ribs. The adrenaline was pumping through her blood like hot fire. She just yelled at 4 billionaires. She just threatened a powerful man with liver failure. Declan sat next to her. The car was totally dark. He did not say a word. The silence stretched on for 5 whole minutes. Fatima started to panic. Did she ruin it? Did she go too far? Was he angry because she spoke out of turn? Declan, she started to say softly, I am sorry if I overstepped. They just made me so angry. They talked to you like you were garbage. Declan turned his head in the dark. He reached out fast. His large hands grabbed her waist and he pulled her completely across the wide leather seat. Before she could even gasp, she was sitting on his lap. Her tight green dress slid high up her thighs. Her bare knees pressed against the rough fabric of his expensive black pants. Do not apologize, Declan whispered. His voice was a dark, rough rumble that vibrated against her chest. Do not ever apologize for that. He wrapped his thick arms around her waist, holding her tight against his hard stomach. Fatima grabbed his broad shoulders to steady herself. She looked down at his face. His eyes were completely black in the shadows. He looked hungry. He looked like a predator that just caught his favorite meal. You defended me, he said. His warm breath brushed against her red lips. You told them I protected you. You told them I was a real man. I was just playing the part, Fatima lied. Her voice shook. It was getting very hard to breathe. I was just doing what we agreed to do. Liar, Declan growled softly. He reached one hand up and tangled his fingers deep into her thick curls at the back of her head. He pulled gently, forcing her to tilt her head back just a little bit. You enjoyed it. I saw your eyes, Doc. You liked tearing them apart. You liked sitting at my table and owning the room. They were rude, she whispered. She could feel the hard, hot muscles of his chest pressing against her breasts through the thin silk of her dress. Her body was betraying her. She wanted to pull away, but she wanted to lean closer even more. They were terrified of you, Declan corrected her. His thumb brushed over her bottom lip, parting it slightly. You are beautiful when you are angry, Fatima. You looked like a queen, my queen. Fatima closed her eyes. The scent of his mint and expensive soap was surrounding her. We have a deal, Declan. We sleep in different rooms. We do not touch. We are touching right now, he pointed out. His hand on her waist squeezed tighter, pulling her hips down flush against his. She felt a hard ridge press against the center of her body. Her breath hitched loudly in the quiet car. "Declan," she gasped. "Tell me to stop," he whispered. His lips brushed against her jawline, trailing hot fire down to her neck. "Tell me to put you back on your side of the car, and I will do it. Say the word, Fatima, say stop." Fatima opened her mouth to say the word. She had to say it. He was a dangerous thug. He ruined people's lives for money. He was stalking her sister. He scared her ex-boyfriend. He bought her like a piece of property. But when his lips pressed firmly against the sensitive skin right beneath her ear, a soft, needy moan escaped her throat instead. She wrapped her arms around his thick neck and held on tight. She did not say stop. Declan let out a low, victorious groan. He turned his head and captured her mouth. The kiss was not sweet, it was not gentle, it was a violent collision. He kissed her like he wanted to consume her entirely. His tongue pushed past her lips, hot and demanding, tasting the expensive wine she drank. Fatima kissed him back just as hard. She poured all her anger, all her exhaustion, and all her hidden desire into the kiss. She bit his bottom lip, tasting a tiny drop of copper blood. Declan's hand slid from her waist, moving slowly up the bare skin of her exposed back. His rough calluses scraped against her spine, making her arch into his touch. The SUV suddenly jerked to a stop. Fatima ripped her mouth away from his. They were both breathing heavy, harsh pants. She looked out the tinted window. They were parked in the dark alleyway next to his building. Choi turned the engine off. The big driver did not look in the rearview mirror. He just got out of the car and walked to the heavy metal door, giving them total privacy. Fatima looked down at Declan. His hair was messy. His lips were swollen and red. He looked completely wrecked. "I have to go inside," she whispered. She scrambled off his lap fast, pulling her tight green dress down over her thighs. Her legs felt weak and shaky. She grabbed the door handle and opened it, stepping out into the freezing rain. She did not wait for him. She ran up the steep concrete stairs as fast as her high heels would let her. She unlocked the vault door and pushed inside. The giant loft was dark and quiet. She kicked her shoes off and practically ran to the big bed on the raised platform. A minute later, she heard the heavy door open and close. The lock clicked. Declan was inside. Fatima pulled the heavy grey blanket all the way up to her chin. She squeezed her eyes shut. She listened to his heavy footsteps walk across the shiny wood floor. The footsteps did not go toward the kitchen. They did not go toward the leather couch. They walked straight toward the raised platform. The footsteps stopped right next to the bed. Fatima held her breath. She waited for him to say something. She waited for him to pull the blanket away, but he did not. She heard the soft sound of clothes hitting the floor. The mattress dipped down heavily on the other side. Declan slid under the thick blanket. He did not touch her, but he was so close she could feel the intense heat radiating off his large body. "Go to sleep, Doc," Declan's rough voice drifted through the dark room. "Tomorrow the real war starts." The heavy grey blanket was way too hot. Fatima opened her eyes slowly. The giant loft was filled with the dull blue light of a rainy Seattle morning. The wind pushed hard against the thick glass windows. She tried to roll over, but something very heavy was resting across her stomach. She looked down. It was a massive tanned arm, Declan's arm. He was sleeping on his side, facing her. His dark hair was messy and fell over his forehead. He was not wearing a shirt. His wide chest rose and fell in a slow, steady rhythm. He looked completely peaceful, but his heavy arm held her in place like a damn seatbelt. Fatima stayed perfectly still. She did not want to wake him up. She remembered the hot, violent kiss in the dark car last night. Her lips still felt a little bruised. She touched her mouth with her fingertips. She was losing her mind. She hated his rules and his control, but she kissed him like she was starving. She wanted him to touch her again. The thought made her stomach twist with terrible guilt. "You are thinking too loud." His deep, rough voice broke the quiet room. Fatima jumped a little bit under the blanket. Declan opened his dark eyes. He did not look tired at all. He looked right at her face. He did not move his heavy arm off her stomach. "I have to get up," Fatima whispered. Her throat felt dry. "I have to go to the hospital." "You have time," he said softly. His thumb rubbed a slow circle against her hip bone through the thin fabric of her giant t-shirt. "Stay still." "I cannot stay still," she said. She grabbed his thick wrist and pushed his arm off her. She sat up fast. The cold air of the loft hit her bare legs. "You said the real war starts today. What did you mean last night? I yelled at the board members. I told them we are legally married. They looked terrified. Is it not over? Declan sat up slowly. The blanket fell down to his waist. He rubbed his face with both of his large hands. He let out a heavy sigh. Rich people do not give up just because a smart girl yelled at them. Dark. They hate me. They think I am dirty. They do not want me to run the company. They will try to find a way to break us apart before the final promotion papers are signed on Friday. How? Fatima asked. She stood up and crossed her arms over her chest. We live together. We have the legal marriage certificate. The debt is paid. They will go after you, Declan said flatly. He got out of bed. He was only wearing dark black boxer briefs. His body was covered in hard muscle and those terrible, ugly scars. Fatima quickly looked away, staring at the coffee machine in the kitchen, but her face felt completely hot. They will try to scare you, or they will try to buy you. They will dig into your entire life. They will look for your weak spots. I do not have weak spots, she said stubbornly. Declan let out a short, dark laugh. He walked toward the huge bathroom. Everyone has weak spots, Fatima. Just keep your eyes open today, and keep Choi very close. The bathroom door clicked shut. Fatima stood alone in the cold room. Her massive diamond ring felt incredibly heavy on her left hand. 2 hours later, Choi pulled the dark grey SUV up to the front doors of Seattle Grace Medical Center. The rain was coming down in thick sheets. Fatima wore her blue scrubs and a thick black rain jacket. She reached for the door handle. Wait, Choi said from the front seat. He turned his massive body around to look at her. The thick scar on his face looked red in the morning light. Mr. Kang said the board members are looking into your past. If anyone you do not know tries to talk to you today, you walk away. If they follow you, you call me immediately. I will be parked in the exact same spot in the garage. I am just doing rounds in the cardiac ward today, Choi, Fatima said. She pulled her jacket tight. I will be surrounded by nurses and security guards. No one is going to bother me. Just call me if something feels wrong, the giant driver repeated. His voice was a strict order. Fatima rolled her eyes, but she nodded. Fine. She got out of the car and ran through the cold rain into the bright, warm hospital lobby. She wiped the water off her face and walked fast toward the staff locker room. The hallway was packed with early morning patients and tired doctors holding big cups of coffee. She pushed the locker room door open. It was mostly empty, except for Dr. Evans. The tall blonde doctor was standing in front of the mirror, putting bright red lipstick on her mouth. Evans saw Fatima in the mirror and smiled her usual mean smile. Morning, Fatima, Evans said happily. I heard you had a little screaming match with your ex-boyfriend in the hallway yesterday. The nurses said some giant thug had to step in and save you. Is your life always this much of a messy reality show? Fatima opened her metal locker. She ignored the blonde woman. She threw her wet jacket inside and grabbed her stethoscope. Evans turned around and leaned against the sinks. She looked Fatima up and down. You look terrible. You really need to get your life together. It makes the rest of the residents look bad when you bring your ghetto drama to the hospital. Fatima slammed her locker shut. The loud bang echoed in the small tiled room. She turned around and walked straight up to Evans. She stopped when she was just inches away. Evans stopped smiling. She took a tiny step back. My life is none of your damn business, Evans, Fatima said. Her voice was very low and completely calm. I do my job better than you. I do not prescribe deadly doses of medicine to old men, so keep my name out of your mouth or we will have a real problem. Fatima raised her left hand to point a finger at Evans' chest. The bright bathroom lights hit the massive, square-cut diamond on Fatima's ring finger. The stones exploded with glittering light. Evans stopped breathing. Her eyes locked onto the ring. Her mouth dropped open. Holy shit, Evans whispered. She grabbed Fatima's wrist and pulled her hand closer. Is that real? That thing is huge. Who gave you that? Marcus is completely broke. Fatima yanked her hand back hard and shoved it deep into her scrub pocket. She cursed herself for forgetting to take it off. It is none of your business. You got married, Evans gasped. Her face was pale with pure shock. To who? Was it that giant thug in the hallway? Oh my God, Fatima, are you in some kind of trouble? I am fine, leave me alone, Fatima snapped. She turned around and walked out of the locker room as fast as she could. She could feel Evans staring at her back. The morning shift was brutal. Fatima ran from room to room. She checked charts, drew blood, and listened to failing hearts. She kept her left hand inside her pocket as much as she could, but it was hard when she had to put on plastic gloves. She caught 3 different nurses staring at her hand. The rumor mill in the hospital was already spinning fast. At exactly 1 o'clock, her stomach gave a loud, painful growl. She had a strict 30-minute break. She did not want to go to the busy cafeteria and deal with people staring at her. She just wanted peace and quiet. She walked down the long, empty hallway toward the back stairwell. The stairwell was always totally empty. Staff only used the elevators. She pushed the heavy fire door open and walked onto the concrete landing. It was quiet and smelled like old dust. She sat down on the top step and leaned her head back against the cold brick wall. She closed her eyes. Mrs. Kang. Fatima's eyes snapped open. Her heart completely stopped for a second. A man was standing on the landing just a few steps below her. He was not a doctor. He wore a cheap, wrinkly grey suit. He had thin brown hair and small, watery eyes. He held a brown leather briefcase in his right hand. He smiled at her, but it was a greasy, nervous smile. Fatima stood up instantly. She looked at the heavy door behind her. She was alone with a stranger in a soundproof stairwell. Choi's warning rang loudly in her head. "Who are you?" Fatima demanded. She kept her voice strong. "My name is Mr. Smith," the man said. He took 1 step up the concrete stairs. "I am a private investigator. I work for Richard Sterling. He is the head of the board of directors for your husband's company." Fatima's blood ran cold. Declan was exactly right. The war was starting. "I have nothing to say to you. Get out of my hospital." She reached for the handle of the fire door, but the man spoke fast. "Mr. Sterling knows your marriage is a fake business deal," the investigator said loudly. "He knows your father owed $300,000 to loan sharks. He knows Declan bought the debt to buy you. He knows you slept in separate beds until last night." Fatima froze. Her hand gripped the cold metal door handle. "How do you know about our beds?" The greasy man smiled wider. "Mr. Sterling pays very good money for information. The maids who clean your loft like to talk. We know everything, Fatima. We know about your broke ex-boyfriend, Marcus. We know about your rich friend Leo who tried to save you last night. We know your sister Vanessa ran away." Fatima felt sick to her stomach. They were watching her every move. They were paying the people inside Declan's own home. "What do you want?" she asked. Her voice shook just a tiny bit. The investigator walked up another step. He laid the brown leather briefcase flat on the concrete landing. He popped the 2 gold latches and opened it. The briefcase was completely packed with thick stacks of $100 bills. It was more cash than Fatima had ever seen in her entire life. It looked like fake movie money. "There is exactly $1 million in this case," the investigator said. He looked at the money, then looked up at her. "Mr. Sterling wants you to take this bag. He wants you to walk out the back doors of this hospital right now. We have a private plane waiting at the local airport. It will take you anywhere in the world. You can start over. You can finish medical school in London or Paris. You will never have to worry about loan sharks or scary thugs ever again." Fatima stared at the green stacks of cash. $1 million. It was total freedom. She could pay off her student loans in 1 second. She could buy a beautiful house. She would never have to eat cheap vending machine food or wear cheap plastic shoes again. She would not have to sleep next to a dangerous monster who scared her. "All you have to do," the investigator continued, pulling a single piece of white paper from his inside pocket, "is sign this paper. It is a sworn statement saying Declan forced you into a fake marriage to trick the board of directors. You sign it, you take the bag, and you are free." Fatima looked at the white paper. Then she looked at the man's greasy, smiling face. She thought about her father. If she took the money and ran, the board would fire Declan. Declan would lose his company. And if Declan lost his company, he would definitely let the loan sharks kill her father. He would hunt her down for breaking their deal. But more than that, she thought about the board members at the restaurant. Richard, Thomas, Arthur, and Barbara. They looked at her like she was dirty trash. They thought they could just throw a bag of money at her and she would jump like a trained dog. They thought she was weak. "No," Fatima said. The investigator's smile completely vanished. "Excuse me." "I said no," Fatima repeated. She took her hand off the door handle. She crossed her arms and stared down at the man. "Close the bag. I am not signing your paper and I am not taking your dirty money." "You are being very stupid, little girl," the man said. His voice turned nasty and hard. "You are playing with billionaires. You think Declan actually cares about you. He is using you as a prop. The second he gets his promotion, he is going to throw you away." If you do not take this deal, Mr. Sterling is going to destroy your medical career. He will make sure you never practice medicine in any hospital in this entire country. Fatima felt a hot spike of pure anger hit her chest. You tell Richard Sterling that my medical career is not for sale, and my marriage is none of his damn business. Now pick up your bag and get out of my sight before I call security. The investigator's face turned red. He reached into his jacket pocket. Listen to me, you stupid bitch. Before the investigator could pull his hand out of his pocket, the heavy fire door behind Fatima exploded open violently. The heavy metal door hit the concrete wall with a massive, deafening crash. Fatima screamed and jumped out of the way. Choi stepped onto the landing. The giant driver looked like a literal nightmare. His dark suit stretched tight over his massive shoulders. His scarred face was twisted in a look of pure, murderous rage. He moved faster than a man his size should be able to move. He lunged down the stairs. He grabbed the investigator by the throat with one massive hand. He lifted the greasy man completely off his feet and slammed him hard against the brick wall. The investigator choked. His eyes rolled back in his head. The brown briefcase fell, and stacks of $100 bills spilled all over the dirty concrete stairs. I told you to walk away if someone talked to you, Choi growled at Fatima. He did not look at her. He kept his cold, dead eyes locked on the choking investigator. I was handling it, Fatima yelled. Her heart was beating wildly. Do not kill him, Choi, I am in a hospital. Choi squeezed the man's throat just a little bit tighter. The man's face was turning purple. Who sent you? Choi demanded. Sterling, the man gasped out. Tears were streaming down his face. Mr. Kang is going to be very unhappy, Choi whispered. He let go of the man's throat. The investigator fell to his knees on top of the scattered money. He coughed violently, holding his neck. Choi kicked the empty leather briefcase down the rest of the stairs. Pick up your trash. Tell Richard Sterling that if he sends another rat to talk to Mrs. Kang, I will come to his big fancy house and rip his lungs out through his chest. Now run. The investigator scrambled on his hands and knees. He grabbed handfuls of the cash and shoved them into his pockets. He didn't even bother getting the briefcase. He turned and ran down the stairs as fast as he could, slipping twice on the concrete. The heavy door at the bottom of the stairs slammed shut behind him. The stairwell was totally silent again, except for Fatima's heavy breathing. She looked at Choi. How did you know I was in here? I tracked your phone, Choi said simply. He straightened his black tie. Mr. Kang put a tracker on it this morning while you were sleeping. Fatima felt a cold chill run down her spine. He tracks my phone. He protects what is his, Choi corrected her. Your shift is over. Mr. Kang wants you home right now. He knows about the bribe. How could he know already? She asked. Because he owns this city, Choi said. Let's go.